into invitational qualifiers,
right.
which are like all over the country. Local stores can have these invitational qualifiers. I know Xanadu Games in the Baltimore area has been having some. I think they had a Super IQ recently. I think they even aired live coverage of it.
They definitely have had a lot of people that were at the Star City Games Invitational in Indianapolis that they did not get there via the points that they acquired at Opens. They got there via an invitational. And there they were, sitting, playing for quite a bit of money.
Right, they award a minimum of $1,000, the Super IQs do. The minimum of $1,000 in their prize pool. And then, of course, the Invitational itself has a $50,000 prize purse. Of course, we have Standard and Legacy in the Swiss, and then Standard Top 8. This is happening in Charlotte in December. It's basically like, if you consider like the Invitational is like the Pro Tour, and then these are like PTQs.
So in this matchup, Yoni Skolnik with Junk Depths, he has one natural weapon against Dredge. He has Vampire Hexmage, which can just be used to get rid of bridges from below from the graveyard of Barry Everson.
Yeah, we saw things like Mog Fanatic doing that in Standard when Bridge from Below was around.
Yeah.
So here in Legacy, very similar situation.
Turn 1 from Yoni. Verdant Catacombs, I believe?
I think so. It's a little glare on it, but he's got those sleeves that are like supposedly anti-glare, but instead they just kind of look like they're really cloudy to me. I mean, that's how what it seems like to me.
Barry on his play goes draw, discard Imp, Stinkweed Imp. Now, interestingly, Yoni has Living Wish ×4 in his deck, and he can Living Wish for a Bojuka Bog. He can Living Wish. What were we talking about earlier? Scavenging Ooze?
Talking about a lot of stuff. Yeah, it is. He does have it. Yeah, as you mentioned, I was going to mention Scavenging Ooze is a card that is in only the Commander precons and legal in Legacy. So he's got it in the sideboard.
For those of you who don't know what Scavenging Ooze is, it's a green and a 1 for a 2/2 Ooze, which has a wonderful ability: green, exile target card from a graveyard. If it's a creature card, put a +1/+1 counter on Scavenging Ooze and gain a life.
Yeah, that is a Dredge killer.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, and the fact that he's just got one copy in the sideboard, perfect place for it when you have 4 copies of Living Wish.
Yeah.
Living Wish is an underrated, underplayed card, I feel like, in Legacy, where where this format is so diverse. It seems like a perfect... I mean, wishes in general, I think, are underplayed in Legacy, just due to this very diverse kind of metagame. If you have the sideboard preparation, you can actually take advantage of the wishes.
We have a Dredge from the Stinkweed Imp, gets him a Narcomoeba, amongst other things. A Bridge from Below goes to the yard, and I believe a second Stinkweed Imp also there, as well as a Cabal Therapy. So, I mean, essentially, he just got about 4 active cards into his graveyard off of that 5-card Dredge.
Right. Tarmogoyf seems pretty good against Dredge as well.
Yeah.
Just in the fact that he gets really big.
Tarmogoyf gets really big, but the question is, do you get overwhelmed by zombies first?
That's true.
I mean, I've been doing a little bit of the Treasure Hunt Zombie Infestation deck on Standard.
Seems really fun.
You can overwhelm people with zombies real easy, you know, so never underestimate the power of 6 zombies.
Does that deck just run 4 Zombie Invitation, 4 Treasure Hunts, all lands?
I run it slightly different, but mostly yes.
What's your slight difference?
Secrets.
Oh, wow. Secrets. 1 Eldrazi.
Darn! Oh, that's my secrets. 1 Ulamog.
Yeah.
You're always ruining my secrets, Joey.
Sorry.
And the Narcomoeba is going to the yard to apparently get a Cabal Therapy. Or no, it blocked. Pardon me, it blocked. Yeah. It blocked and gets a zombie. Tarmogoyf attacks, Narcomoeba blocks, Bridge from Below gets a 2/2 zombie. Joey.
I'm sorry. I just took a blind stab at it.
So far, Barry, not Joey. So far, Barry has not actually done anything other than rules-based work. You know, game mechanics. He has discarded and he has dredged, and he has triggered. And there is a Dredge
The Imp.
It's 2 Dredgers and another Narcomoeba. It's a Golgari Grave Troll and a Golgari Thug.
Yeah, at this point, Scavenging Ooze is actually kind of not enough. I mean, he's got... I guess it could be enough.
Scavenging Ooze would blunt a lot of Barry's work here. He's only got 2 Dredge cards in the yard. Maybe 3 Dredge cards in the yard, but I think it's only 2 in the yard. And just make sure that he doesn't rearrange anything.
I was thinking
here.
the same thing. He's like, I need to lay these out so I can see them.
Lays a Cephalid Coliseum, taps it for a mana, and now we're going to see an explosion of the graveyard, probably from a careful study, maybe a breakthrough. Breakthrough for 0. He will have no hand at the end of this, but it is Mental Missteps. Who cares about color requirements when you've got Phyrexian mana? Yoni Skolnik has no way to create blue mana in his deck, so it's just 2 damage. Correction, he does have 3 Mox Diamond. Knight of the Reliquary and Tarmogoyf are the guys that he's fighting with. Tarmogoyf quite large right now, with creature, sorcery, instant, land, and enchantment in the yard. It's a 5/6. The Knight of the Reliquary not nearly as large. Again, the Narcomoeba blocks, and that's going to get a zombie back. Wasteland. 2 mana for a Vampire Hexmage. Wasteland, getting rid of the Cephalid Coliseum, says go. With that Knight of the Reliquary, at the end of the turn here, he can turn any one of his lands into a Dark Depths, and then Hexmage for a quick 20/20. So this is the turn that Barry needs to basically do something powerful and win the game, or else it's done. Barry says go. Knight of the Reliquary taps. Kills one of his lands. A Dark Depths comes into being. Vampire Hexmage will be sacrificed to make the Dark Depths into a 20/20 Merit Lage token. And apparently he has set up for himself the actual token. Untap. And without any flyers, Barry's going to die to a 20/20. This deck is actually really cool. I mean, what you're talking about essentially is you've got already the baseline for a regular kind of potentish junk deck. I might actually say that it's almost closer to a rock deck. Junk is generally characterized, even though it's classically a green-black-white deck, more accurately, it's a mid-range aggro deck. And rock is generally classified as the mid-range control deck. And this deck generally plays out more like a mid-range control deck. It doesn't have the same aggressive features that Junk usually has, even though it does have that color combination. But then it attaches to it such a small little thing. 3 Vampire Hexmages and 4 Living Wish. And between the 2 of them, that means you can fetch out either the 4th Vampire Hexmage from the sideboard or a Dark Depths, and you can also, with your Knight of the Reliquary, you can search out Dark Depths in your main, which means that you have a very solid mid-range, in this case somewhat controlling deck that's got Dark Confidants and Knight of the Reliquary and Tarmogoyf, but all you've got to do is add in Vampire Hexmage and 1 Dark Depths, and you've got a potent Merit Lage combo as well.
Yeah, very interesting kind of list.
Now this is a deck that really just kind of got notice fairly recently. It's been around, I think, for a little smidge of time, but recently it just kind of started showing up in more numbers.
Right, it was in 8th place last week at Richmond, piloted by Daryl Ayers. taking a look really quickly. Is it maybe identical? We have,
I think it's exactly the same list.
yeah. Does he have?
Scroll up for a second.
Oh, sorry. You pointed up, and I thought you were telling me to wait.
Yeah. I mean, it looks the exact same main deck, except for perhaps the land mix might be slightly different, but the main deck otherwise looks the same.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. So we got a question from Twitter, just while we're in between games here. What exactly are you having problems with as far as stasis goes? They think, they're saying everything's there even without Gush.
Now, the Gush is what you need. What you need is you need to have a reliable card draw spell that isn't vulnerable to
stasis itself.
to some sort of destruction abilities. So before, all you needed to go is just the draw phase without any help and Gush. Now, in order to make things work, you usually need something like a Forsaken City. And Forsaken City is a card that can be destroyed, or a Crucible with fetch lands, and a Crucible can be destroyed.
I see.
And you don't want to be a Howling Mine deck in this format. It's too dangerous against the combo decks. Gush basically solved all of your problems. It gave you extra card draw. It returned tapped islands to your hand so that you could feed the stasis.
Right.
And it just basically made it so that on the back of 4 Gush, you'd be able to hold a stasis forever.
So it seems like it's there, but it's just more fragile than you want it to be.
Yeah, you can make stasis. It exists. It's just not actually going to be competitive. If you actually put Gush into the mix, it's possible it would be too weak still, but it might be strong enough to be able to compete because all of the things you need all show up. I mean, if you think about what happens when you Gush, you get 4 cards in your hand, and 2 of them are definitely islands.
Right.
Which means you definitely get 2 more turns of stasis, if not more. And each one of those turns of stasis is more opportunity for Gush.
Fair enough. I see. Interesting.
Thank you for that question, whoever was brought that on the Twitters.
That was You'll Be Dead X.
I mean, I built a stasis deck for the last Legacy Grand Prix, and didn't play it because it just wasn't good enough.
I see.
The big moment that we decided not to play it was when we discovered that Jace the Mind Sculptor does not get protected by propaganda.
Yeah,
propaganda says you cannot be attacked.
Right.
Jace is not you.
That's right. It's one of the things that comes up as far as Cronenberger's list. I believe he was playing some propagandas, whether it was him or it was
Ruben Bressler was also playing.
That's exactly right. That's the name
Blue.
I was looking for. For some reason, I couldn't. It wasn't coming to mind. But yeah, he definitely was playing propagandas with Jace. That's a deck that I'm very interested in trying. I've been playing blue-white mostly, of the non-Stoneblade variety, but I really like the Cronenberger mono blue list. The thing is, it just seems like it's, I guess, maybe not as strong. I mean, it did definitely perform pretty well recently, so I guess it's a strong deck. But it seems exciting to be able to play, to be able to just lock people out with back to basics, as we saw earlier with the Merfolk versus Zoo matchup. But sometimes those back to basics don't lock the opponent out. I have a friend of mine who plays a junk deck, and he plays around back to basics just, I guess, whenever he's playing a blue deck, just because I guess playing around back to basics also plays around Wasteland. And he's got the mana base. He's got enough fetch lands and enough basics in the deck to just not fear back to basics, which is why I ended up cutting it from my sideboard, because he's a guy I play Legacy with a lot, and it seemed like it would be good against him. It just never seemed like it worked. He had Mox Diamonds and things, but Propaganda. I know Ruben Bressler played the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale in the sideboard. I think he played 2 copies of that. So Barry looks like he is mulliganing to Oblivion here. Yoni's been ready to play for a couple of minutes. For those of you just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco, here with Adrian Sullivan in the booth, covering the Star City Games Open Series here in Boston. This is the Legacy portion. As I mentioned a little while ago, if you maybe just tuned in, we had a pretty diverse standard format yesterday. The first several rounds had no repeats, and it all culminated this morning in a top 4 featuring 4 different archetypes and a win from Blue-Red Splinter Twin. Now Barry mulliganed to 3, and finally ready to play. City of Brass, Tireless Tribe, go.
Dredge is the most effective deck at mulliganing, I think, in the history of Magic, perhaps.
Which I guess shows why he's not so afraid to mulligan into 3. There's a Gemstone Caverns, Gemstone Mine. One of the Gemstone lands.
Putrid Imp. He's got 2 Dredge outlets in play, no Dredge cards.
Yeah, he says, I'm just going to beat down with Dredge guys now.
Might as well go for the beats.
Dark Confidant.
Dark Confidant is no slouch right now. Here they come.
The Dredge beatdown.
Attack for 2. Bob says Marsh Flats. That's a 0. And then the regular draw.
Attention players, if you ordered from Bravo's Pizza, waiting for Tim, Matthew, and Blake. Please welcome main stage.
Dark Confidant attacks. We see a Wasteland and a Knight of the Reliquary.
Yoni's dudes are bigger than Barry's.
His attack plan is falling apart pretty quickly. Cabal Therapy. Naming Vampire Hexmage, I would guess.
Yeah. So, let's see what we got here. Marsh Flats, Tarmogoyf. I believe that's another Dark Confidant.
I think that's a Life from the Loam.
Oh, it could be, okay. A little tough to tell.
It's a whiff for Barry.
Wish we could have seen exactly what those were a little bit better. But there's a second City of Brass gonna hurt Barry potentially more than it helps him.
Knight of the Reliquary does 3 damage to Yoni from Dark Confidant. I should say Dark Confidant does 3 damage to Yoni via a revealed Knight of the Reliquary.
Right.
Because the Knight of the Reliquary in play didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet, but you gotta wonder here, like, I think Yoni's very happy to have a second Knight just to lay on more beats.
I see a Mazavith. And he's gonna do the Brian Cole special. Attack with Knight of the Reliquary. After damage has resolved before combat has ended, return Knight of the Reliquary to the untapped position. Second Knight of the Reliquary.
Nice Vigilant Knight there.
When Brian unleashed this recent build, not the Depths build of Junk, but the recent incarnation of Junk, a lot of people in the Legacy world were really shocked to discover, with the rules timing, that Knight of the Reliquary was able to do the tricky tricks of Mazavith.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing when something like that comes out and nobody realized it before, or very few people realized it before.
Breakthrough. Looks like for 1, he gets to keep one of these cards. What he needs here is a Dredger. Dredger in the yard and another draw spell in hand would be good. It looks like there's a Bridge from Below, and I think there was indeed another draw spell. Careful Study, not quite as good. There is, I think, now remember, Yoni has access to Bojuka Bog and has an active Knight of the Reliquary right now.
It really looks bad for Barry. Mulligans to 3 really doesn't look like he's going to be able to capitalize on any of his dredging.
I predict Bojuka Bog.
Yeah.
Let's just stop those shenanigans. Okay.
Yeah, so no cards in hand, 2 Cities of Brass as your only lands, a Tireless Tribe, and a Putrid Imp as your only creatures.
Bob reveals Life from the Loam. I actually can't come up with a path for Barry to get out of this at this point. There's just too much damage coming at him too quickly right now.
Definitely. Definitely seems bad. Not only that, but just the whole the fact that he's got those knights. Those knights do more than just attack.
Both creatures block the Knights of the Reliquary, so Barry will take 2 damage only here. After combat damage, inside combat, Knight of Reliquary is untapped. Wasteland, and Knight of the Reliquary destroys another one of his own lands, probably to fetch another Wasteland, which is going to mean Barry Everson has no cards in hand, no land in play.
Yeah, no chance to win.
He can't speak, so he concedes the game.
Yeah, very, very difficult to come back from a mulligan to 3. You said Dredge could do it, but
yeah, usually
as potentially